The Postal Service he tried to kill. And then, Kemp and the whole, GOP cabal who understood that Georgia was ripe, that Georgia's 20-year project toward turning Georgia blue was about to come to fruition. What did he do? Created a situation where people in the middle of a pandemic would have to wait on lines for 11 hours if they wanted to vote in person. And in Atlanta, they wanted to vote in person. It was important to them. They had been working on a project for years now to make Georgia reflect Georgians. So who was trying to rig the election? We were? No. It's so ridiculous. Everything is backwards. Everything is, through the looking glass in their bubble, in their information bubble, because it's false information, bad information, conspiracy theories, and they're not going to stop. They're just not going to stop. And I got news for you. Every time I see Obama or Biden today or Kamala Harris today give an economic speech or talk about their plans, their monumental plans to distribute vaccines or to combat COVID or to get stimulus money out the door so that we can combat COVID in a meaningful way. I mean, he's talking about a big stimulus today. He's talking about $3 trillion going out the door. Big, huge. That's Nancy Pelosi's Heroes Act is what he's talking about. He's talking about, electric vehicles. He's talking about 550,000 charging stations. He's talking about union jobs, good pay. He's talking about 1.5 million new affordable housing units. He's talking about retrofitting, weatherizing existing housing. He's talking about buying in America. He's talking about paid sick leave and family leave and all these, child care. And the big impediment is the Republicans, which is why the Senate is so freaking important. This is why the fact that there is a situation in Georgia that requires a runoff election for 2 Senate seats when we are 2 Senate seats away from the majority, it's like a gift from God. It's divine intervention. People literally stood online 11 hours in Georgia under a Republican Secretary of State, under a Republican governor, in order to cast their ballots, and they created a situation where Biden won, and there's going to be a runoff between 2 insider traders, and you can spell that any way you desire, and a reverend who is Georgia. He's everything that Georgia is, Raphael Warnock, and John Ossoff, the first Jewish candidate. I swear to God, it would be amazing. It would be amazing. But right now, my God, we got a Republican Senate, and if any of these things sound necessary to you or hopeful to you, when I talk about $15 an hour minimum wage, union jobs, when I talk about modernizing our roads and bridges and tunnels and creating good-paying jobs, and when we talk about, a green economy, the new emerging look, China isn't going to allow any combustion engines in their country in 15 years. They've already done it, and they are incentivizing American companies to come there and give them their, ingenuity and technology. It's stupid on our part. But the impediment to all this is Mitch McConnell, one turtle-like man.
The refusal of Democrats and Republicans to cooperate with one another is not due to some mysterious force beyond our control. It's a conscious decision. It's a choice that we make. If we can decide not to cooperate, then we can decide to cooperate. I believe this is in part the mandate from the American people, part of the mandate they gave us. They want us to cooperate. They want us to deliver results. And the choice that Kamala and I will make is that we're going to do that.
Yeah, but Mitch McConnell's not going to do that. And that's why Mitch McConnell needs to be the minority leader. Let him lead a minority, okay? He cannot have a majority anymore. And these 2 Senate races in Georgia are going to determine whether or not we get progress, whether or not we move forward, whether or not we create all these unbelievably good jobs, good paying jobs, whether or not we have 550,000 charging stations across this country, whether or not we actually invest in Make It in America, the actual real deal, not Trump's fake one where he just claims that happened, and he talks about Shinzo's and that they opened 5 plants, which never happened. It never happened. And people believe it did, but it didn't. It didn't. I mean, it's just so unbelievable whether or not we get the stimulus money out the door, whether or not we can actually get the manufacturing of vaccinations out the door, whether or not we can do this or not. They're still, listen, they're still on the Republican side saying Trump won. They're still saying that out loud, in public, on the TV, they're saying it. And they're people who went to Washington just as an example, because they're the ones that were interviewed because they were there. They still believe that Donald Trump won and that something was wrongfully decided, that it was stolen, that votes were flipped in the middle of the night. And Donald Trump's loyalists are still injecting that poison into the body politic. They're still doing it. How in the world do we move forward if they won't stop? And all they talk about is the past. That's it.
Clear for takeoff. Friendly roads clear. If we don't have...
And with these supporters who gonna stop, man, they're just not gonna stop. And to give this legitimacy is to delegitimize our democracy.
I'm more troubled by the fact that other Republican officials who clearly know better are going along with this, are humoring him in this fashion. It is one more step in delegitimizing not just the incoming Biden administration, but democracy generally. This democracy doesn't work if we don't have an informed citizenry. This democracy doesn't work if we don't have responsible elected officials at other levels who are willing to call the president when he's not doing something right. Call him up.
And we don't have that. We don't have that. We have a bunch of fringy, lunatic people who are intent on propagandizing the American people, who are very busy, telling the American people that something, violative happened to them. They were robbed. They were stolen from. This is really dangerous behavior, and it's being perpetrated upon America by guys like Devin Nunes, by guys like Mitch McConnell, by Lindsey Graham, by that whole cabal of parasites. And the idea of why they're doing it ought to not be lost on you. They're doing it so that Joe Biden is hobbled before he even begins. They did it to Obama with the birtherism, and Trump was the biggest birther, and it worked. It worked. And now they're doing it to Joe Biden because they believe it will work. And that they can hold out for another 4 years and get a do-over in 4 years, and they will, be preeminent again. It's sad. It's really sad because, we're literally dying out here. We are literally dying. And Anthony Fauci, who never says anything political, is trying to tell you that the lack of cooperation by the Trump people is really dangerous, and that he's not been able to communicate with Joe Biden. He can't talk to Joe Biden because the Trump administration, you have one president at a time, will not allow him to talk to Biden.
How problematic is it for the fight against the coronavirus if the NIH and your agency and other government experts are not able to begin communicating with President-elect Biden's team, which, as you know, has its own expertise in fighting pandemics?
Well, Jake, as you know, I've been through multiple transitions now, having served 6 presidents for 36 years.
God.
And it's very clear that transition process that we go through, that time, the period of measured in several weeks to months, is really important in a smooth handing over of the information, as well as it's almost like passing a baton in a race. You don't want to stop and then give it to somebody. You want to just essentially keep going. And that's what transition is. So it certainly would make things more smoothly if we could do that.
So just as a public health measure, you think it would be a good idea if your team would be able to work with the Biden-Harris transition team right now, just in terms of what's best for the public health of the American people?
Of course, Jake, that's obvious. Of course it would be better if we could start working with them.
I mean, who, besides for a person who's willing to commit, let's just call it negligent homicide or mass murder, who in the world would do this? Who in the world would stop an incoming administration of the United States of America, who has the absolute worst numbers in the world for new COVID infections, for deaths per week, deaths per day, for transmission of the virus? Who, except for somebody who is willing to see mass death, would do this? Who would do this? Nobody would do this. Nobody that's worthy of the American presidency. Nobody that is a decent person. Nobody that has any integrity at all, a shred of decency, would do this. Only Donald Trump is doing this. And in 1 week, I mean, we're seeing numbers double every, I mean, 9 days. Now we're down to 6 days. Double. It's bizarre. And you know, you had over the weekend Gretchen Whitmer of Michigan, who had her life threatened by these Trump supporters because she's trying to keep her people disease-free and alive, was threatened with kidnapping and murder, okay? And she is so strong. She is a boss lady, okay? She was on the TV telling people in Michigan, I'm so sorry, but we're making changes and they're going into effect, and we're not going to allow, we're going to have remote high school, we're going to have remote college, we're going to have remote work unless it absolutely has to be done in person, no more indoor dining at bars and restaurants, organized sports, nope, except for professional sports and a select number of NCAA sports, no more group fitness classes, theaters and movie theaters are closing, stadiums and arenas are closing, bowling alleys are closing, ice skating rinks are closing, indoor water park. I didn't even know you had indoor water parks. I want to go to an indoor water park. No more bingo, no casinos, no arcades. Everything's got to close because they're losing 1,000 people a week. And they tell, oh my God.
Clear for takeoff. Randy Rhodes Air Force. RandyRhodes.com.
We could soon see
certain program channel. Again, that's Leslie Marshall each Tuesday, Wednesday, and Friday. Brad Bannon each Monday, and Mark Levine each Thursday from 6 to 7 p.m. Eastern on the Progressive Voices Network.
Don't give up.
This is the Randy Rhodes Show. To speak with Randy, dial 561-270-3844. That's 561-270-3844.
a leading model shows that if we don't take aggressive action right now, we could soon see 1,000 deaths per week here in Michigan. I want you to think about that. 1,000 deaths per week is what one of the models tells us. To date, we have just under 8,000 people lost. That could be 1,000 a week we could be adding to that. So if we act now, though, just like we took action in the spring, and we work together, we can save lives, thousands of lives.
So that woman who is trying to protect her own citizenry is being threatened not just by lunatic fringe groups with weapons who go to the Capitol and then we find out that they have some secret plan to kidnap her and then try her for treason and kill her. She is not afraid. She doesn't back down. She's still going to try to protect even them from the pandemic, from a disease in her state. And what does the Trump administration do? Scott Atlas, who is a radiologist, he is not an epidemiologist, he isn't a pulmonologist, he has nothing to do with infectious diseases at all. He reads x-rays. But Donald Trump saw him on Fox News saying herd immunity was the way to go. Let everybody die. Thin the herd. Let them die. The weakest will die. And who cares about weak people? The elderly. And Donald Trump went and said that. The elderly are the ones that are dying. No one important. No one important. He actually said that. Okay, so now Scott Atlas, over the weekend, hears that Gretchen Whitmer is going to do these 14 different things. She's going to shut down indoor activity for the most part. Schools, high schools, colleges, older kids, right? And he tweets out that you in Michigan have to rise up. You have to rise up and you have to do something about her. And I swear to God, no one could believe it. And he said, you'll get what you accept. And we started a hashtag. We were tweeting all weekend. We don't accept herd immunity. We don't accept mass murder. Okay? We don't accept this abject failure on your part. We don't accept you. Right? And then people started pointing out that what he was saying sounded an awful lot like inciting violence. So he was forced to, after his Rise Up Michigan tweet, he was forced to actually confront the Michigan Attorney General. And he had to tell the Michigan Attorney General, no, I was never talking about violence. I was never talking about violence. It sure sounded like you were talking about violence. Rise up. Rise up against Gretchen Whitmer. This is really twisted and dangerous stuff. And they're not going to stop. They're just not going to stop. We have to survive these 65 days. And I'm telling everybody, you got to be extremely careful because this thing is the Midwest is getting hammered now. North Dakota, Michigan, Wisconsin, Idaho, for God's sake, Idaho, Washington State, Illinois, Chicago. Chicago's going to do, essential only, meaning, don't go out, shelter in place. Shelter in place. We're almost a year into this thing. This man was such a damaged person. He did so much damage. So many people got sick. So many people died. It's unbelievable. It's unbelievable that there are people that still support him, and I can explain it. It's called propaganda, and it freaking works. It truly works. His supporters are now they're turning against Fox. Fox, they think, is now, because Fox is getting, to the point where they realize how dangerous this has all been, and that all is lost with the Trumpanzees, that it's over, the election was free and fair, there's nothing left to contest. Georgia is doing a hand count, and it will be over on Wednesday, and we will have 306. And even if there's no way that you ever get a recount that reverses 14,000 votes. Usually you'll get 100 votes, maybe 15 votes, 10 votes. You don't get a big swing when you do a hand recount. And that's what they're doing, and nothing will change. And Fox understands this. And now the supporters are saying, no, I don't want to watch Fox anymore, because Fox is now trying to tell them, trying to orient them. Fake news.
At this point, I don't trust Fox News.
Oh my God.
Were you guys Fox News fans up until election night, or?
We've been.
We're fading fast.
We're fading fast. Fox News is
We like Tucker.
it's crap. Fox News called Arizona way early.
Oh my God.
They never switched it. They never switched it when it got close.
Who do you think is pulling Biden's strings?
Fox News has been a favorite media outlet for President Trump.
I watched Fox and Friends in the morning.
We've had some incredible strength in terms of people like Sean Hannity, the great Lou Dobbs. And I like some of the things on Fox. Certainly Sean and Laura. And Tucker's been great lately.
Oh my God.
The network's been criticized for being Trump's mouthpiece.
Pro-Trump outlets and some of Fox's biggest stars are enabling this alternative reality that claims that Biden is not president-elect.
But during the campaign, as Joe Biden pulled ahead in the polls and was eventually declared the president-elect, many Trump supporters I spoke to said they no longer trust Fox News.
I don't even watch the news anymore. I don't even watch Fox anymore. Because they're getting just as bad as the other ones.
What's your main source of information?
My main source of information is I listen to Alex Jones.
Oh my God.
When George Floyd, that all happened, I stopped following CNN, Fox News.
Oh my God.
CNN sucks, man. Why'd you think CNN sucks?
Because you suck. You're the worst news ever. So Slannon.
Where'd you get your news from?
OAN, baby.
Oh, yeah?
They're a lot more honest than you. Even Fox News is crooked.